Also,
Hi,
Lexi,
Matt.
that's a sick My Bloody Valentine poster.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
It's my
that's
pride
rad.
and joy.
Very proud of it. She won't remove it.
I've tried.
All right. So we have with us today Mallory Drumm, God damn it, Drakulic?
Yeah, Jay Drakulic, yeah. And it's Mallory.
Drakulic.
Yeah, and it's Mallory Drumm.
Mallory Drumm. Did I say something different?
I think you said dumb, but that's okay.
That's insane if I did. Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
You're good.
That would be crazy. And of course, Alex Williams is also here with us, all from the movie Dream Eater, which, Lexi, do you have the details for the release on that one? Sorry, guys, I'm recording this at work. I was not able to get home. So
No worries.
It comes out on VOD on the 22nd, right?
18. Yeah.
18th. We are really good at this.
Jesus.
Friday. It's all good.
So we've been doing like interviews all week. It's been so insane. We did Joe Lynch from like the movie Crypt and stuff. And he's produced and directed a bunch of movies. And then we did Joe Begas, who also was on the horror section studios that Jimmy Sticks. So, which we want to talk to you guys about that a little bit too, once we get into the rhythm here. So first things first, I'm like the biggest found footage fan. It's a problem, actually. It's like a real problem. I'm obsessed with found footage. It's just my favorite thing in the world. Give me like a little gimmick and I'm hooked. When you guys made this movie, was found footage always the like first thing? Was that what you wanted to make, or was that more? I from the directors and stuff we've talked to, sometimes it feels like it's like out of budgetary needs. It's like, okay, we could do this like a little bit cheaper if we do this thing. And you guys, starting out here, was that necessary, or was it more like we want to make found footage?
I think we wanted to make found footage.
Yeah.
When Jay and Alex directed their first feature, they had pitched it as a found footage film, and then it got changed into a straight narrative by the studio. And so the three of us started the collective, we had always kind of wanted to go back to that. And just like you, we are huge found footage fans. And so we knew we wanted to make a found footage movie. And then as we were coming up with Dream Eater, at the crux, this whole film is really about this couple. And we thought that found footage is a great vehicle for that because of how intimate you can get with found footage. And so for us, like, I don't know that this movie could have been told any other way. Like, it felt that like found footage was so just intrinsically weaved into the narrative and into the characters of Dream Eater.
Yeah, like what I think is so exciting with found footage, and what we found so exciting with found footage, is that the cinematography is woven into the narrative, like Mallory was saying. So, there's that added challenge of when you're doing found footage over a straight narrative, where now you have to justify and contextualize what's being shot and why. But what's really cool about that is now you have this opportunity to drive the cinematography as a character. And now it becomes a reflection of who's operating the camera. So, early on, we decided to make Mallory a documentary filmmaker within the film and a cinematographer by trade. Because, while a movie all three of us love, The Visit, the issue with The Visit that we all kind of felt was that it was slightly overproduced for a 15-year-old to have made that film. But we loved the look of it, while we're also fans of the shaky cam, like the Rex and the Blair Witches, where, you've got that kind of motion sickness after you've watched it, and you've got that really gritty vibe. What we always saw from Dream Eater was something where it had really beautiful cinematography and really kind of like at times paced out steady shots. And what was cool too there was when we were kind of writing the script, the first draft of the script, because we were writing in jump cuts, we were writing in the camera turns on, she picks it up, she takes it here, she sets it down, things of that nature. The first draft ended up looking more like a shooting draft. And what was really cool was when we were kind of piecing together some of those moody connective tissues, like those exterior shots in the wilderness that Mallory's shooting, they end up looking more like diary entries, like a window into Mallory, how she blows off steam, how she gets a catharsis, but also the way she likes to shoot things and the things she chooses to shoot. So it's almost like a show don't tell moment where you're getting to know the main character deeper than you would through the cinematography, deeper than you would in a straight narrative film. And what was cool about it too was watching Mallory and Mike Katerina, our incredible cinematographer whose handheld work is like unparalleled, watching the synchronicity that the two of them found together by like day 2, day 3, they were stepping in sync with one another. And they were having these, we had these conversations early on about, motivations and things like that between the two of them. But as we started shooting the movie, and because it was chronological, Mallory and Mike started having these really nitty gritty conversations. Like at one point, Mallory's like, before I go do this thing, no spoilers, I would put my hair up. And he was like, okay, cool. What we're going to do, and he pitched us, we're going to put the camera down. She's going to put her hair up, but behind the camera. So we're just going to have this moment of an added beat before we go into this next gag. Well, that inherently changed the DNA of that scene, of that horror gag. And it was moments like that I think you can only do with found footage, where you're not going in so kind of overproduced and polished, but you're actually, even though you're super prepped, you're still finding the narrative and refining it as you're making it.
Yeah. No, that's an amazing way of talking about that. That's amazing. Alex, nothing to say over there. So I guess, how does it feel being in a part of a 3-part director group? When the two people answer the question before you and you're like, shit, what do I say about found footage?
Well, I think it's, it's funny too, when we go through these interviews, we always try to like we got into like a rhythm of like, oh, okay, this is a question that Jay is really good at answering. This is a question that Mal and myself. So
I got you.
I try not to make anything too long-winded by adding my take, but like in terms of being in a trio, it's we keep saying this, like a lot of people think that there's compromises that have to happen when you have 3 people sharing the director's chair. But it's interesting too, because, and we have these conversations with a lot of these people where it's like, you can have 2 editors. No one really balks at that. Sometimes, like even on some movies, 2 DPs, because maybe the needs for that job are so great, or, how many executive producers exist on a project, how many producers exist on a project. And so just because something that is creatively driven, or, a more creative role, like why then is it so hard to wrap your brain around the idea that multiple people can be driving the same creative vision to the end of a project, especially something as hard as independent film, where you have, because when we put up our own money to make the film, it was out of frustration with the start and stall sort of engine of Canadian film. It's just so hard to get funding because so much of it is government reliant. Yeah. So we were like, okay. And then especially when you have a script like Dream Eater, when you're going to the government, they're going like, well, this isn't really pro-Canada at all. So we're not going to put any money behind it. Like, this benefits our country in no way. If anything, it makes us seem sick. So we're like, okay, well, this is the kind of, I'm a Canadian, and this is a movie that I want to watch in this country.
Right.
So give me what I want. Like, it's also like you're putting you're getting behind something that is going to be more commercially viable than, say, maybe another coming of age movie. Like that, those Canada is abundant with coming of age films because it's all government funding. So that's, again, talk about long-winded answers. So when we came to decide what movie we wanted to tell and what story we wanted to tell with our own money, it very much stemmed so much in the prep. We do so much prep. And I feel like that's where so much of the direction actually happens, because you are setting everything up so that when you get to set, that's where you get to play. And so when Mallory and I are in front of the camera and Jay's behind the camera, now we all know exactly what we want out of this scene. So Jay, we're trusting Jay that he knows what Mallory and my style is while we're in the scene. And then we're also trusting Jay that he knows what we want to be seeing. He's trusting that we're going to like give the performance that we need to. And then we're trusting that he's going to know what we want represented, but also advise and basically be the final call of like, yeah, we can move on. We got to do it again, whatever. So it's all about trust. And Mallory says it a lot in these interviews. We don't know how people, especially in the independent film world, who knows, even in the studio space, but how a single person can handle the weight and the burden of being at this sort of pivotal role where creativity and finance commingle and have to be represented authentically. So when you have three people that are sharing that same vision and that same ideology and that same end goal, more than anything, I want to make a movie that I want to see. And you're like, yeah, like when one idea goes through Mallory and Jay from me, it's better. When one idea goes through me and Mallory from Jay, it becomes better. And we all have actually vastly different tastes, but we all respect each other's tastes. And then we all can find like the understanding of why those tastes exist, and like why Jay's so obsessed with the movie Chud. Like, it's not my favorite, but he loves it. And then when I watch it with him, I'm like, you're so right. This is so great. And because as a film watcher myself, I want to love everything I watch. Like, that is my goal. I would love if no shit movies existed. So when someone can help educate me on why they see value in something, it just makes that experience better. So why would that be any different from the directing standpoint?
So how did the three of you come together originally?
Yeah, we actually all worked together at a charity here in Toronto. We met in like 2013. And then just through like knowing various people in the organization, like they were like, oh, if you really love movies, like you should talk to Jay, or like, Al, like, have you met Mal yet? Because like she really loves movies too. And then we started making short films together, and it just worked so well. Like, we always joke, like, it went together like peanut butter and chocolate. And then it kind of just like spawned from there. And then we decided to quit our jobs and start a video production company here in the city. And then just basically like every time we got a paycheck, it was like, okay, this goes to rent, this goes to food, and then this goes to the movie fund. And it was always just about how do we continue to like tell stories. And it just kind of like spawned from there. Yeah, just all met working at a charity.
And also, like, you know, like to find three people willing to put up their money at a time when it's more expensive than ever. And like Toronto is a very, it's expensive to live everywhere right now, but Toronto, you know, is one of those cities as well that is very expensive to live in. So to find people that are willing to like put skin in the game and really take that risk and that leap of faith to create some art that we always view as bigger than ourselves. We always say, like, Blind Luck Pictures, we're more than the sum of our parts. We form Voltron, right? So it's one of those things, like, I think when you find that team that you, like Alex alluded to and Mallory alluded to, that you really trust, but are willing to go the distance with you and put skin in the game, it's like those are people you hold on to for dear life.
And like we you know, we're thinking about opening a business school. And so after the next global collapse, it's take all the money that you have left and fucking throw it into a black hole that is making a film. You know, that's our recommendation for every aspiring filmmaker is take what you have and burn it.
That works for Lexi's budget. That's her favorite way of doing it. She came on the show recently and she was like, I need a company card. And things have never been the same since. Never been the same
girl.
since. And she's like, we need costumes for this. So I'm going to buy a bunch of costumes, which I'm a costume guy. So I was like, yeah, for sure. But then it was everywhere. And I was like, hey.
Yeah, it started as one by the end of October. I think I had worn like 7 different costumes for 5 episodes of the show.
Yeah.
But with the three of you guys, I mean, Alex, you said that you guys all have very different tastes, but what are your like creative strengths for each of you? And then do you use that to like divvy up responsibilities when you're shooting?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think like we definitely all have different strengths, you know, from like a logistical production side is typically where I kind of like lead a little bit. When it comes to like, you know, we all write together and come up with the ideas together, but Jay also really takes like a lead in that role. And then when it comes to like storyboarding and the visuals, that's where Al starts to take takes the lead in that as well. But kind of to what Jay was saying of just like all becoming Voltron, like whenever it comes time to like coming up with an idea, like we're literally all three at a table, just like looking at each other and like just popcorning ideas. And we're all about no ego filmmaking. Best idea wins. And so it's just when you just trust each other and you love each other so implicitly, it just makes that so much easier. And so like, while we all do have different strengths, you know, like Jay is like loves like the psychology and the lore and the mythology of stuff. So when we're kind of coming up with that stuff, that's where Jay really takes a hand in. And like I said, Al is like also like our comedy guy too. So when we're weaving in like jokes, we like look to Al to kind of like spitball that. And then, you know, being the only filmmaker or the only female filmmaker of the trio, that's where like I like to come in and put in a bit of a female perspective of like, well, if we're writing this woman character, like there's no way she's going to do this, guys. Like this is what she's going to say kind of thing. Right. So I think like we definitely, and then again, with our tastes being so different, I've been asking these guys for over a decade to make a rom-com with me. And they tell me that Dream Eater is that. So I think that's how I'm going to lose out. So
literally the first time she asked, we gave her it. And I don't understand what the big problem is. Like, like it's already there.
Yeah, there's some calm. And, you know, to add on to what Mallory said in all seriousness, like, that I gotta say, like, as a male creator and looking at things through a male perspective, like, it is so incredible to have Mallory in the team where she's able to, you know, you almost feel like you get an insight into something, especially when you're creating a character from the ground up that you normally wouldn't have. You know, Mallory really eloquently put this to us like years ago about how women have a different relationship to blood and viscera. Women have a different relationship to pain. And so when, you know, being able to create not only just the three of us and bringing all our different sensibilities and our strengths and our creative kind of instincts and impulses, but really to gain this kind of like, it's hard to explain this kind of like like behind the scenes access to a perspective that is not inherent to either Alex nor I, for us is not only so exciting, but it's such an honor to be able to create that. And we always say, you know, Dream Eater, it really has this feminine spirit. It really does feel like, you know, none of us want kids. Our kids are our movies. And when we made Dream Eater, it kind of felt like we brought our daughter into the world in that way. So to be a male creator and to be able to contribute to something like that and gain those types of perspectives and gain those types of insights, it's incredible. And it's something, honestly, that's hard to quantify, but is so profoundly rewarding.
That's a really cool answer. It's actually interesting because we've talked about it on the show a bunch. It's just and we'll get off the whole triple director thing as soon as I'm done with this. But I'm noticing a lot of groups of directors recently. And then also you flip to the business side and there's even studios and companies now where they're like, yeah, we're going to have two CEOs. Why not? And at first, everyone's like, freaks out because they're like, what the hell does that mean? What are you going to do? And it's like, hey, we're at a point where we're realizing these things are a lot of work. And it always helps to have a second person there to be like, are you sure about that? And like, that sounds like a terrible idea. And then, you know, like some reflection back at you. So I don't know. I think it's going to become more prominent. And I think you guys found like a winning group here for that, because it's so important. And when you have that team that it just clicks naturally somehow. I have some professional relationships like that where it's just like, this is so weird. Like, this is bizarre how like intertwined we are, and we can disagree and vehemently, but we walk away being like, yeah, it's probably the better idea. I'll go with that. Like, you know, and it's no egos somehow when you're in that space and everyone understands, but it's commendable what you guys are doing. That's really cool.
Well, thank you. And we love doing it. And to your point, that's very interesting is like, you know, the co-CEO thing and how it's just more prominent, not only in direction and filmmaking, but in other areas. And I think that it's not, I think that's just related to the fact that the world now is more connected than it's ever been. So conversations are more widespread than they've ever been. And so when you have so many opinions floating out in the ether on every single topic all day, every day, endlessly, whether it's like the most useless information, like a meme, to like the war in Ukraine, like and everything in between, you start to have to consider more and more angles. And, you know, like even look at the very controversial sort of topic about how some studios have to play to, you know, the Chinese market and how that limits creativity and Western culture and things like that. It's interesting because now I think some of that relates to the fact it's like, okay, well, now you have people having those internal conversations. So like this sort of smaller area, it's like, okay, well, let's talk more amongst ourselves because we're all getting used to this as a society to discuss more. It's not so much the old guard where also female filmmakers were like not only rare, non-existent. If you look at Hollywood from like the 20s to I don't even know, like the 70s when women were starting to finally be able to get the opportunity or take the opportunity to direct films. And it's funny, you look at like someone like Catherine Bigelow, who's better than fucking 100% of her male counterparts. So
yeah,
it's thank God for that revolution, we'll call it, of just females taking what it should be rightfully theirs, is because the ability to create art and Jay had. Did Jay mention? Yeah, the relationship to blood. That was when I was witness to that conversation. I was like, whoa! It was Mallory just saying it. I was like, that makes so much sense. I'm so embarrassed that I didn't ever like think of it this way. But again, thank God, because now I have a totally different relationship to that myself when we are discussing these scenes. And we recently we've been on a rewrite with Eli for one of his scripts. And we're talking about all these crazy blood scenes, and like the first person to chime in is Mal to basically like, you know, like, okay, how does this scene feel written? And she's like, I think a man wrote this. And we're like, okay, great. So you're going to be like, and that's always like such a good little, she's like, yeah, no, we should be doing it like this and blah, blah, blah. It's like sick. So I think, yeah, just to sort of reel it back in, I think that the fact that society now is just more connected is breaking way for this thing where, well, multiple voices can be heard from the same view in film, in companies, whatever it may be. And it's a good thing because no matter what, I like the other thing too, and then I'll stop and then we can stop the 3 director thing. But the other thing too, is that the way of like old Hollywood where you've got like a Billy Wilder or a John Ford or whoever, and John Huston, and they're like, they get to hijack and kidnap reels of their film and walk away with it somehow. And I'm like, I don't even know how that, like the ability to do that. Whereas now it's like, no, not you are kept at a very, very long arm's length from being able to do anything like that. So the days of that sort of control are over. You have to collaborate along from the start to the end regardless. So why not have the multiple people collaborating at one of the most important jobs on set? The one job that is linked from all the way from the beginning, all the way to the end, having more brains that are unified and looking in the same direction and agree with each other. And like you said, you can disagree. Me, Jay, and Mal disagree every single day because that's part of the process. You're weeding out the shit to find that gold nugget in regards to whether it's a piece of dialogue, if it's a storyboard, or it's a logistical problem. So I think that it's all sort of like moving, and like groups of directors will soon be so normal, and this won't even be a question anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even from like a perspective, I'm going to keep going. Even from a perspective of like talent management, which I know you guys had pretty limited with the found footage aspect, pretty limited cast, right? But you know, in the future, when if you guys do something much larger, where it's like, this guy's in a fucking mood today, and like, I'm not going to ask him about this scene, but now I can go to Mallory and be like, hey, please help me talk to this guy. And it's going to be like, perfect. Like, and that's so helpful on these things. You hear
that was stories. Jay and I every day about Alex on set.
Yeah. I would just flick my hair. I'm the talent. Go ask someone else.
All right. And my last, not on the director's thing, I'm going past it, but I'm going to take a break and let Lexi kind of take over. Did you get paid more for Hangin' Wang in this movie?
He got paid, period.
Alex, what do you mean?
To hang. Oh, he paid them to put me in this.
I had to pay money. I had to buy my way in to do that.
Pay me like one of your French girls.
Exactly. Did you get the shot? Get it?
How was it? is the lighting right? They're like, hey, it's found footage, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you about the lighting.
Yeah, it's pretty starkly kind of directed at it. Thank God it was theatrically released. You know, because if people were watching it on their phones, I'd feel so insecure. Oh wait, that's going to happen in 4 days.
It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, VOD and Amazon, right? Is where it's at.
Apple TV, Fandango.
Fandango, yeah, hang on. I have it right here. Fandango. I just want to reiterate it, and we'll put it at the top for you guys too, since we botched this intro. So
you don't change a thing.
Yeah.
Dream Eater releases on VOD on November 18th on Amazon and Fandango at home. So make sure you guys all check that out. Lexi, hit them with the video store questions. She's a big nostalgia person.
So this is a new thing we've started doing on the show because I'm just so fascinated by it. But especially since you guys linked up with Horror Section Studios. Well, one, when you guys were growing up, what video stores did you have near you? Because you were in Canada, so it might be a little different. But what were you guys rocking with as kids?
There was a Blockbuster near me and a Jumbo Video is what it was called. And it was like an elephant logo, right?
Literally, yeah.
It was like an elephant was the logo.
Yeah.
So it was either Blockbuster or you went to Jumbo Video.
Yeah, I had 4. It was literally, we were right in the like quadrant of these 4 where we would either hit up Blockbuster first, if not then Rogers, then Jumbo and Video 99.
Rogers, yes.
Those were like
Rogers the same as the big Rogers company in Canada?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why do they own everything?
Yeah.
Because in Canada, we love our monopolies.
Dude,
so Rogers.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Forget competition.
Forget competition. You're getting your cell phone and your TV from 1 or 2 companies, Bell or Rogers. And at the time,
we're convinced they're the same company at this point.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, so Rogers, like the telecommunications company, had a like brick and mortar video rental store.
It was fantastic though. Yeah. They did have a really good, because you get to like Blockbuster Video, you go to like, rent like Scream the night it came out, all the copies are gone. You're running across to a block down to Rogers to see if they've still got a copy, and they would be the one that was like the second pick for people. So oftentimes you'd be able to go and nab like a first night rental from there. But Rogers, we love, like Mallory said, we love our corporations here in Canada. So.
I'm loving the Jumbo Video logo though. I am.
Are you looking it up?
Yo, yeah. When you told me there's an elephant in the logo, I was just very.
Yes.
That feels very whimsical to me, which is my favorite genre. So I was like, I need to see this elephant right now. That is crazy about Rogers, though. That blows my mind. Anyway, Lexi, you can. Oh wait.
Well, Alex, were you the same with that?
No. So I'm from a very small town, like 45 minutes west of the nation's capital, Ottawa, and we had one video store. But I am convinced to this day one of the best video stores in the history of existence, because Ray Rietenbach, if he ever hears this, you changed my life, man. He was the owner of the store, and he just would not get rid of he's like, I need to keep at least like 2 copies of every single movie that ever even comes through the store, and he would get everything. And so it was like being in a hoarder for movies store. So there was just so many movies to choose from. And it was a Video Flix, if I didn't say that already. And then I was like, oh, there's nowhere else I will work. My mom was like, you have to get a job. I was like, yeah, I'm going to work at Video Flix. She's like, well, you don't get to choose. I was like, I'm going to walk in every Monday with a resume until he says yes. And it took 18 tries. So 18 weeks in a row from the day I turned 15. And I just kept handing him off, or 16, whatever the legal age was back then. And he was like, I'm not going to hire you. I know your parents, and I think you're a little bit too immature. And I was like, cool, I'll see you next Monday. And I just did it until he was like, okay, yeah, cool. Just come in on Tuesday and you can start working. And then I held that job until I went to college.
Oh, that was my
dream,
man.
With the video stores, it's funny because when we talked to Bigas, his answer, it was really interesting. And I think it's very kind of telling about filmmakers to know what their answer to this is. But when you guys were kids in the horror section, what box art stood out to you? Like, what do you remember as the one you kept coming back to or just staring at?
Frighteners.
Oh, you took my freaking answer.
Frighteners.
Frighteners.
There's that lenticular cover that just like you walk by, you see that face like constantly like shift at you. You were just like every time like I've seen it 10 times, watching it again, like literally.
And also not a horror one, but I don't know why, Showgirls. The you know, like the leg.
That's
and like
so
this is
funny.
the second
Yes,
time
Mallory.
we have
Yes.
talked to somebody in an interview this week about Showgirls, and I'm ready to chat whenever you are about Showgirls. Anytime.
But I was literally going to say The Frighteners too.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
From well, The Frighteners is an excellent answer, and it's one of my favorite like just covers ever. But there was two that stand out in the actual horror section. These two were in the horror section. There was this very sort of clip arty. It's gorgeous, but it was a very clip arty sort of illustration for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the original, and it had the girl's two eyes up top, and it was like a blue sort of hue to it, and then Leatherface, but his expression was like, oh. It was so weird and just like cheaply drawn, but I'm pretty sure it's like one of their main covers, but it's just not very detailed, and I was obsessed with it, and I was always like, what is this movie? And then finally when I was allowed to rent it, I hope, Sean, you're pulling it up, but
I'm trying to find it right now. I think I have it.
yeah, it's so awesome. And then the other one was The Dentist with Corbin Burnson. I don't know why that one just like jumped out. It was, and I rented it so many times.
Wait, which one did you say? The Dentist?
The Dentist with Corbin Burnson.
Oh yeah, that one bugged me out a little bit. I don't know why either. The colors were just crazy. I don't know. It was like this deep red.
Yeah,
and the drill and stuff.
And the movie was almost shot like it's a soap opera. Like they put a fucking like a flare lens, like a glow lens on everything. And I'll never forget when he destroys that woman's tooth. My mom went, oh, and she left the room because he's like not paying attention with the drill, and it just destroys her molar.
Oh no! Wait, what is happening? Sorry, I'm trying to pull it up, and now it's asking me to like do a million things.
Well, going back to the like origins of the story, I'm always so fascinated by horror movies, or really any movies that the plot revolves around sleep, because I have such a sordid relationship with sleep and with dreaming in particular. And so just where did the story come from? Like who started it? What did it stem from?
Yeah, we had this idea that we had been pitching to studios and distributors here in Canada for a while called A-Sleep, like stylized A-Sleep. And it had this nugget of an idea that we always really liked that dealt with like the horrors of parasomnia and the unknown of your own mind when you're sleeping and what's really going on and what's controlling your body or what's happening when you're asleep. And so we kind of, as Alex and Mallory both alluded to, it was really frustrating getting stonewalled over and over when we were trying to get greenlit. So when we decided that we were going to self-fund and do a found footage, we had dusted off this idea that we had always really loved. We were like, this would be perfect for not only a found footage film, but a film about this, this microcosm of the horrors of sleep told through this couple who's kind of like on the downward spiral of their relationship, dealing with some pretty toxic, abusive dynamics. And so once we started really delving into the research of the sleep science, it was horrifying. Like what people who suffer from parasomnia go through, spoiler free here, everything that Alex goes throughout the film is something that is inspired by real perils that people that are suffering from this condition have to face. And, it ranges from things like just like restlessness during your sleep or, sleep talking or a little bit of sleepwalking, all the way with violent parasomnia to people killing their bed partners. There was famously a case here in Canada where this guy actually got in his car, drove to his in-laws, murdered them, got back in the car, drove back home, and was found to be not guilty of the crime, like of first-degree murder, because he had been sleeping at the time, so it wasn't premeditated. And so when we started really looking into this and then kind of marrying it with our other love, which is Lovecraft, the fear of the unknown, like we were talking about before, like the fear of your own mind, we were really heavily inspired at the time by stories like Dreams in the Witch House, The Outsider, The Dunwich Horror, which is why we named one of our characters Armitage, also after Frank Armitage, the pseudonym of John Carpenter when he wrote They Live. So it was really something that we were very interested in with this original idea. But then, Mallory has alluded to this in interviews in the past where We wanted to get people in their comfort zones. We wanted to get people where they felt safest at night in bed next to their loved ones. And we wanted to create this kind of, put this question in people's minds of, do you really know who you're sleeping next to at night? Because if the person you're sleeping next to at night isn't who they appear to be, and is even a mystery to themselves, how can you ever know them? How can you ever know what they're capable of? So it was really something that once we started kind of like hitting the ground running from the scripting phase, it was something that kind of got more and more horrifying, but also more and more personal as it pertained to this relationship story and this very, this descent into madness and paranoia, so to speak.
Did any of you guys have any like recurring nightmares growing up that you remember like as an adult now? And do any of those nightmares, do you still get them ever?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, like I grew up with terrible night terrors as a kid, and then they went away for a little bit, and then they started back up when I was in university. And it's always just someone breaking into the house and like coming to kill me. And so it got to a point where I taught myself to lucid dream.
Like
so,
a fucking dream warrior. Like,
so like now when I'm in a dream and like shit's going haywire, like I can literally say to myself, I'm like, okay, Mal, this is just a dream. You can like change the outcome and like change what you're doing in it. And so like to this day, either someone breaking into the house and like trying to get me, or anything to do with heights. It like completely terrifies me. I'm like going up a bridge that's like this narrow and I can't go forward and I can't go backwards and I'm almost forced to go off. Like that continues to reoccur for me and I'm like constantly dealing with. So I totally appreciate what you were saying, Lexi, with your relationship with sleep being like a difficult one, because I've had night terrors since I was a kid and like continue to suffer with them.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Jay and Alex? Did you guys have any nightmares growing up that still get you today?
Yeah, like for me, it was less so nightmares, and I like suffered from like pretty like brutal sleepwalking until I was like 12 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I was like, I don't remember any of it. Never like woke up in another room or anything like that. But my family would tell me the next day, like, you did some pretty creepy stuff. Like we even put some of that into the movie. Like my brother said that he woke up one night in the middle of the night and it was like 2 a.m. and I'm standing in his bedroom door just staring at him. And he was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, what were you going to do had I not found you? To the point that my parents were divorced. So when I started sleepwalking pretty badly, I was with my mom. And the first time I went to my dad's after it had started, she told him like, yo, be careful. Cause he lived in an apartment. She was like, Jay's starting to sleepwalk. So like, just keep an eye on him. He got so freaked out about it. He like barred the balcony door with like chairs and shit. Like he created this like makeshift barricade. But yeah, for me, it was less nightmares and actually like the sleepwalking side of it. And then, yeah, I'll let Alex jump in.
I don't remember. I had bad night terrors when I was a kid, and my parents were like, you were so annoying because you were up every night just like screaming. But I don't really have a memory of those dreams. But what I do have a recurring dream of now is I'm like tied up and then I get shot in the face more than once. And I'm thinking about the bullets as they go in. And it's really interesting because now Lexi, same as you, I have a very odd relationship with sleep. Both of my parents are diagnosed insomniacs. So my future is fucking looking very swell. And I just don't sleep well. I wake up at the smallest thing. Whereas my partner who sleeps next to me can sleep through an earthquake. Like the house could collapse and she's just like, yeah, just like 5 more minutes. So now when I wake up from bad dreams, it doesn't like mess with me. I'm always just like, oh, that wasn't real. Oh, awesome. What a day ahead of me. I get to live. No more bullets in my face. That sort of thing.
So with all three of you having, some sort of contention with sleeping, did that help a lot when writing Alex's character? Like, did you put all of that into that? And also, I mean, Mallory, like your patience with his sleepwalking, like, did that go into that as well?
Oh yeah, I think so. Like, God bless my parents. They were super patient with me growing up. Like, I was that kid who was like 12 years old being like, can I please sleep in your bed? Because I was like, again, night terrors kind of thing. So I always remembered like really wanting them to be like super supportive and be like, yeah, of course you can, even though it got to a point where they were like, absolutely not. And then that's when I just started essentially sleeping with the lights on. But yeah, I think we definitely took a lot of that and putting it into Alex's character. And yeah, with Mallory, 100%, you know, like I always remembered wanting that compassion and that just like everything's going to be okay. I'm here for you. And so like using that with the character. And then also just leaning into like the exhaustion that you feel when you don't get a good night's sleep and what that does to you the next day and what that does when you're in a relationship and you're trying to have like a nice day with somebody, but you're dealing with all of that exhaustion, you know, like not having a good night's sleep can like really fuck with somebody on so many different levels. So it was definitely leaning into that for both characters.
Yeah, because even shooting chronologically, what was interesting watching Mallory, because for context, she and I are married. What was interesting was she was becoming more and more exhausted as the shoot went on. And she, you know, her character in the film gets really worn down by what's going on. So it was very interesting also to see that with Mallory prepping for the next day. You know, Eli talks a lot about this where he says, you know, your body doesn't know that you're acting. It's just feeling the trauma of what you're doing. You're screaming or you're running or you're, you know, acting as if your life is really in danger. So watching Mallory kind of get worn down from her as a person perspective as the shoot went on, and the horror and the anxiety increased for the character and the situations, it was very interesting to see how that was then informing her performance the next day, but also with the cameras, once we called cut, seeing it taking the toll on Mallory, so to speak, from that perspective as well. So I think that was also something that was interesting to see on set as the film went on.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys ever have dreams that you wake up and you're like, fuck, I want to write a movie about that?
Oh, so often, honestly. There's or even like just a visual that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, maybe 85% of the time, by the time I get a pen, I'm like, what the fuck was it? Oh, like
yeah. Josie's dreams are so interesting that way, where I feel like it's one of the only things where the harder you try to remember it, the harder it becomes to actually remember it.
I agree. It goes further away.
Away from you. The closer you feel like you're chasing to remembering what it is, it just like takes this leap ahead of you.
Yeah.
So to Alex's point, like definitely visuals, but I feel like half the time when I wake up and we always say to each other, like, it's so funny, like when someone tells you like, oh my God, I had this dream last night, the majority of the time I kind of want to tell that person, like, why do I care? It's gonna be nonsensical, but we tell each other our dreams all the time, even though I say that. And so like the amount of times when I go to these guys, I'm like, okay, I had this dream last night. It's like nonsensical and would probably make the worst movie, but there are definitely visuals that come to your mind. You're like, oh, because also with dream logic, I feel like you don't have the same parameters that you feel like do in real life. So it's almost you get to be a bit more creative in that sense of just like, oh, I never pictured something shot that way. But I think you almost have to be in a dream for that to happen.
And like, I think for me, it's more like these micro nightmares I'll have, like where it's not like a prolonged, like I'm stuck in some situation. But to Mallory's point, there'll be like one horrifying moment. Like I have a crippling fear of spiders. And even talking about it right now, I'm like, where the hell are they? And I remember I had this dream once, and it was about totally something else. And then all of a sudden I'm in bed in the dream, and I dream that my pillow is covered in spiders, and I started sweating in real life. So the sweat going down my face felt like crawling. I woke up and I swept my pillow to get the spiders off, smashed my nightstand right next to me, which was this old heavy wooden nightstand, totally fucked my hand up. And it was one of those things where it was like hurt like a bitch, but then afterwards it was like, that could be something for something, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's like you said, there's like these like pockets of like a visual or a vibe or a moment that you're like, okay, cool, that's something we can definitely play with in terms of horror filmmaking.
Yeah, I sleep like a baby, guys. I'm having nothing but positive vibes.
John, yeah.
Actually, no, I was like traumatized by the Pepsi Man when I was a kid. It was weird. Most people don't even know what the Pepsi Man is, but
I was gonna say, now I want to know what
he was like this weird mascot they used for maybe like 5 years, and he's like this. I'm gonna pull it up.
He shows up.
That's the Pepsi.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's hilarious.
And he would terrorize me.
So essentially Prometheus, but like corporate supported.
Yeah. Wait, let me see
Is
if
the
this
Pepsi
changes.
Man
Wait,
the
can you
original?
see
Oh, that's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one. Look at his expression.
It is like
He's like, oh. That's the one. I was obsessed with it, and I was, and they kept it in this like chunkier case than all the rest. And I was like, Mom, can we get it? She's like, no, the movie's fucked. You're like 6. And then finally, when I turned 7, she's like, yeah, whatever.
I don't know how to get rid of this now. Okay, wait.
You can leave it up. I'll stare at it all day.
Yeah, no, it's a sick cover.
It's so dope.
Just during production, was there anything that went like super wrong in the moment that you had to think on the fly? And did it change the way a sequence was supposed to go initially on the draft, or was everything pretty smooth for the most part when filming?
every day something happens.
Yeah.
But I think like alluding to like what Alex was saying earlier, you know, we're such big proponents of fixing it in prep and like doing everything you can during the prep so that when you get up there and the inevitable does happen, you're ready to pivot. And I think probably one of the biggest obstacles was the weather and the snow.
Yeah.
So we were initially supposed to film this in October, and then our DP wasn't available, so we had to switch it to March. And it just so happened that Quebec had its like a record snowfall that year, where we were like 12 feet of snow.
It was crazy.
And so we had one scene where it was supposed to be Alex's and Mallory's character up on this like cliff and like overlooking this ridge. But when we got up there and we saw the snow, it was going to take us about a 2-hour trip by snowmobile to get up there. So we were like, okay, so that's not going to work. Like, what are we going to do? And instead, that became kind of like inspired by the original Amityville Horror and Josh Brolin and the James Brolin, thank you, and the wood chopping scene. And we were like, okay, well, what if we pivot this to be on the property, Alex chopping wood, and us having the conversation there? And like, you know, and it's funny now because I think that it worked out way better than what we had initially pitched. And similarly, you know, that shot of Alex out in the snow where he's on the lake, that was supposed to happen a little bit more in the woods. But then our DP had this like radar on his phone, and it was just tracking in this huge storm that was about to come in. And he was like, guys, like, what if we pivot this and we do it out on the lake?
Actually change the schedule.
Change the schedule for it. And was like, what if we did this on the lake while this snowstorm is coming? And we were like, absolutely, hands down. And like, now you get that epic shot of just this like tiny little Alex in this vast white storm that's coming through. And he's actually like on the lake while we're doing that too. And like that lake typically does not freeze over completely. But like, again, the weather gods were with us throughout that entire shoot. But yeah, Lexi, I mean, like every day something goes wrong. But I think when you're as prepped as you can be, those challenges then become opportunities rather than like obstacles for you. And it's just like embracing them and rolling with the punches. And then you end up getting something, I think, better than what you initially planned on.
Yeah, hell yeah. Like what Homer Simpson called them, crisopportunities. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. You know, it's Mallory's point, when you're doing indie filmmaking, it's like you do whatever you can to make your days, because and especially when your own money's on the line, it's like there's no opportunity to push this. We only have so many days up there. We've got people's schedules that are already locked in. We can't extend the shoot by an extra day. So those are two interesting points of like, one, something goes catastrophically wrong, pivot. Alex, literally, I taught him how to chop wood 5 minutes before he shot that. That's a 4.5 minute like oneer that he's doing there, splitting logs, right? And I don't think James Brolin could have done it better himself in Amityville Horror. Looks like a maniac doing that. And then to like what Mallory said with the storm, that was a moment of like, cool, let's pivot the whole schedule and let's actually chase this storm, because it's going to be cinematically incredible. And it was so interesting sitting there, because it's so often the opposite when you're on a film set. You're hoping the weather is going to be good. Perfect. We were sitting there, we had just reversed the schedule, shot the scene that was supposed to be inverted, blah, blah, blah. And we're sitting there looking out the window being like, please come in, please blizzard come in, please snow, please snow. And then as soon as it started snowing, we ran out there with the gear. Everybody was on the lake, and we knew we only had 45 minutes. It was just going to be this really brief squall, but really intense. And we got it. And so to Mallory's point, it's like, it couldn't have worked out better with some of the things that went wrong. And then some of these things we pivoted to actually go and embrace.
I mean,
yeah, some of the shots.
Sorry,
What?
the amount of snow that was there was crazy amount. So was that not planned then to have that much snow?
Totally, yeah. Like we just dealt.
I think it adds so much to it.
I agree.
Totally.
I agree.
Totally. We can't imagine the movie any other way. That's the thing.
No.
Like, when we showed up, we were like, "Oh shit!" Because to literally both the points that they just said, one of the things that's so when you're so prepped, when you come up to when you drive onto the property and go, where the fuck are all of like the location pieces that we need access to? Like that carousel was buried. We had no idea where it was. It was so buried. So there's videos of us shoveling it out. Like that was 5 minutes after we arrived because we had to start shooting the next day. So when you're so prepped, every single challenge, like Mallory said it beautifully, becomes an opportunity. And that's super exciting, especially when you imagine the same movie the same way for months and months, and you're prepared to do it that way. When you're prepared to do it that way, but you also understand that things will change. When something changes, you rise to the occasion, as opposed to be like, fuck, it's not going to look the same. Like, embrace the fact that it's not going to look the same and just try to make it even better.
Yeah, it's funny because like the shots of just your feet against the bare snow, like it seems innocuous enough, but it's like fucking visceral. And I just think it adds so much to the movie. But I'm so curious, like, how are your little piggies doing? How many times did you have to do that? How long were your feet out in the snow?
My piggies wanted to stay home. Like it's I think that the scene of walking out to the shed where like we pointed towards Alex's feet. I think that was 9 takes total, and like everyone was doubling up roles on set. So I remember our sound guy Brent running like as soon as we'd stop, because we'd have to shoot it in like these chunks to get the blocking down and like the pitch black, which is this one light source. When we'd stop, I would just like I'd be like sort of like you have to go to the bathroom. I'm like pivoting from foot to foot, and then he'd run over boots, but I didn't have enough time to put them into the boots, so I'd have to stand on the boots just to like give the bottoms of my feet just a break. But the adrenaline from also being like the people funding the movie, the directing the movie, it carried me through. It was only really at the end of the day where I was like, oh, I think I have frostbite. Like, but during it was cold and I got agitated a couple times. I'll admit that, and it takes quite a bit to get me like pissed off. But I was like, like waiting for lighting or something. I'm like, okay, fucking use it, fucking try it. So, but I think it helped. Yeah, I think it added some level of, like you said, some viscera to the movie.
It did for sure.
It did. Well, and like the white setting just with so much fucking snow, like it just adds to that dream state. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally. Oh, for sure. It was trippy too when we were there, and it shows up on camera. But like when we were there, like Mallory said, there was like at times 12 feet of snow around us, so it almost felt like you were in this snow globe. Like it felt like you were actually like isolated and stuck there. And then it ended up having this really cool like labyrinthian kind of vibe, like the end of The Shining with the hedge maze. Where there's moments that Mallory's kind of being herded through the snow, and you're just kind of seeing it. Like what was super cool at night was seeing that snow sparkle when it was catching the light source, and then when it was juxtaposed with just the pitch blackness above with this white bright snow, it gave it this kind of like otherworldly vibe. And it was funny because when Eli first saw it, he was like, there's nothing I love more than a bleak Canadian winter. And that looked like a fucking bleak Canadian winter. So it all really just worked out for us in that kind of way of like, shit, going back now, we would have scheduled this plan A to shoot it in the winter, not shoot it in the fall. It was just one of those kind of serendipitous turn of events that like we had to wait for our DP because we weren't going to do it without him. And we ended up getting that incredible snowfall. And we only found out, Mallory had said this earlier in another interview, we had only found out like fucking 3 days before we got up there how bad the snow was. So we had to all of a sudden buy all these snowshoes, walk and talk, turn into snowshoe and talks. If we didn't have that, you couldn't step out onto the snow without sinking sometimes, like mid like chest level. It was that deep. So we ended up having to kind of like pivot in those ways. And thank God we did, because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to get those exteriors. But it was like, yeah, man, that was a Canadian winter for the books. I'll tell you that. Right.
Yeah, the snow outside that front door, you could see it's like shoulder height. And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, what? This is insane. Like, what is happening?
Dude, we get there, like Alex said, carousel, we didn't even know where the fuck it was. We didn't even have an indicator. We just knew it's like somewhere here. We started shoveling this. It's an 8.5 hour drive. We get there. We literally cracked beers, started smoking joints, and just literally dug out like 4,000 pounds of snow. But then to Mallory's point with like the weather gods being on our side, at first when we did it, we tried our best to kind of round it off so it didn't look like it was freshly dug out. It wouldn't look artificial. Every single night it snowed. So the next morning we had a wreath of a fresh fallen blanket of snow, which made everything look like that's just how it was.
Yeah.
And it was those things were like, with 8 people on your crew, you don't have a lot of people for resets. Like footprints are a big fucking deal on that because it's just going to show that you've already ran the scene through, right? So there's a lot of elements working on our side, so to speak.
So were you guys just staying there?
Jay and I did. And then we got an Airbnb about like a 10-minute drive down the road for the rest of the crew. Because like Jay said, there was 8 of us total, including us 3. So they stayed at the Airbnb and then Jay and I stayed at the location.
Okay. So with Eli, Begis' story of how he wound up with Horror Section Studios is so fucking funny, and it's just like like a text message. But how did you guys link up with Horror Section?
So after the movie played at Unnamed Footage Fest in San Francisco, and they had sent out the screener to a bunch of influencers to just drum up promotion for the fest, and one of those reviews by Chuck Shaughnessy, your movie guy, went viral on both TikTok and Instagram. And like it was posted like on a Sunday night or something, and it had like 5,000 views, and we saw like, oh, that's so cool. Fuck yeah, he likes the movie. That's great. Like, what a great review. We went to bed the next day, it had hundreds of thousands of views. And we're like, oh shit. And all of our messages were just flooded with people being like, where can I see this movie? I want to see this movie. And so so as we're sort of fielding this interest now for the film, on May 10th, I was checking our DMs on our Blind Lux Instagram, and in the spam folder that we always just clear, we're always just like spam. It's always just like weird porn shit, like whatever. I saw that there, like, it usually doesn't show the number of messages that are there, so I click on that, and then it has the subfolder. I was like, that's fucking weird. Like, what's there? And I click on that. So in a subfolder of spam, there's one message sitting there with a little blue check mark, and it says "Real Eli Roth," and I'm just like. I'm like, and I text JML, I'm like, guys, Eli Roth just reached out to us. And as I click on it to read it, the phone, it lights up and it's Jay, and they're on speakerphone. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, I read it and it just says, hey, can I see your movie? And do you guys have distribution? And that's it. So literally he reached out via Instagram. And so we're like, oh my God. Yeah, no problem. Here's the link. Yeah, no, we don't have distribution yet. Like, we'd love that. And we thought best case scenario is that he likes the movie. Best case scenario is he likes the movie. He says something cool over the phone, and we're like, can we use that for the poster? And then just, it's, quotes, Eli Roth says it's scary or something. Jay makes a joke. Don't worry, because Jay was designing all the posters at the time. He's like, don't worry, I'm already prepping an Eli Roth Presents poster. We're all like, that's so funny. And within the runtime of the film, Eli gets back to us and he says, I want it. I want this film. It's perfect for Horror Section. Let's get on a call. 2 days later, we're sitting on a FaceTime with one of our idols in horror. And then by that Friday, he had bought the movie. So it went from this film that we had self-financed, acted in ourselves. Like, we just like, Mallory calls it the little movie that could. And it just keeps getting new life and new life and new life, to Eli fucking Roth releasing it. It still is hard to sort of wrap your head around.
Yeah.
That dude is so unhinged. Why is he just like buying movies over text from everyone?
And The man is a machine.
Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
Like, we don't know when the fuck he sleeps because, like, the amount of things that he has going at any one time. But, like, also too, right? Like, I think a better way to answer that is like this guy is about it. Like, he's about championing indie films, indie filmmakers. He's the real fucking deal. Like 24/7, this guy is living what he talks about. And, you know, it was really cool because, you know, like Alex alluded to, it's like, you don't know what it's like going to be like to meet your idols, much less now start working with one of your idols. And right away, like from that first conversation, he was getting us to believe in ourselves. He was really about what we had created to the point where, you know, we had a different ending to the movie at the time that he had watched it. And he was like, look, I love the movie. I just felt that the ending didn't do for me what I wanted it to do. So can you guys talk a little bit about that? And we were like, yo, straight up, we had a completely different ending that we had written, but we had been talked out of it by some people up here in Canada saying it was a little too bleak. It wasn't going to sell as well. And obviously you want the best chances for your film to get out there and succeed. So we were like, okay, cool. So we changed the ending to something we didn't fully believe in, but was still cool. We say that to him and he was like, okay, well, what was your original ending? We tell him and he was like, yo, that was incredible. Why didn't you go with that? And we explained to him like, look, like this is what happened, blah, 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 but we're here now. And he was like, cool. What do you guys got? Do you have anything else that you think could recapture the spirit of that ending? And we were like, yeah, this is an idea we've been kicking around just for fun. And he was like, that's fucking amazing. Go do that. He didn't tell us what we needed to do. He didn't shoehorn his own idea in. He literally was like, cool, this was my only criticism. What do you guys think? We were like, yo, your only criticism is really one of ours. And so because he got involved, obviously, you know, we got a theatrical release. We got to work with the horror section. All these incredible things have happened. But one of the biggest things for us was really being able to recapture the spirit of that original ending and get another kick at the can to be able to tell the story we really wanted to tell and end it the way we really wanted to end it, to the point where now when we watched back the assembled cut with the new ending, we were like, fuck, that's better than what we had written in the scripting phase. This is the way the movie was always destined to end. And so, you know, I think to your point about like, you know, how unhinged he is kind of securing these movies over text and stuff, it's like he's so real about it. It's all about the movie making. It's all about just making that art and making it as impactful for audiences as possible. And somebody like him who just knows everything about horror, like the guy's fucking knowledge is scary. You know what I mean? In terms of the things that he knows with the genre. So to have somebody like him believe in you, champion you, but also encourage you to follow your creative urges, follow your instincts, man, it's like we couldn't have found a better mentor, especially in somebody who we tell them all the time, man, you raised us with your movies, right? Like they've been a part of our lives since we were teenagers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. And I'm glad you mentioned it because I almost forgot the theatrical release. How was that for you guys?
Wild. Like,
yeah,
real.
Crazy.
Like, you know, again, being indie to the bone, like we were like, okay, you know, maybe this movie gets on YouTube, gets on Tubi at the most. And so the fact that we even got into like one theater, let alone 300 across the US, 40 in Canada, it was just wild. I mean, like, you know, Eli's talked about this before, and like we talk about all the time, like we feel like horror movies are meant to be played in a theater. You know, like you're in that dark setting, you're feeling that adrenaline rush with people around you. It's like the sound, like everything, right? And so to be able to have it go in theaters is just wild. Like it still feels completely surreal. And even if it was just like a limited run versus like a long time run, doesn't matter. It was just like, we're huge movie fans. We have our Cineplex membership. We go all the time. And so to be able to have like our film there is just, it's wild. And it's honestly the way that we had always hoped audiences would be able to see it on the big screen with the surround sound and all of that. And so the fact that it had that chance was just, it's surreal, honestly.
Because he believed in it, right? And that's what's crazy. It's harder than ever now to get movies in theaters, especially indie movies. And like seeing this kind of like new wave of like unrated films now making their way to theaters and being a part of that, man, fuck, that happened because Eli Roth believed in it enough to put the horror section behind it. And now, you know, give give Dream Eater this platform than it never would have had before, being this indie Canadian film.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to congratulate you, because it's like, that is getting the theatrical release. I mean, every time we talk to a filmmaker, they're like, getting the movie fucking finished is like everything. But especially getting a theatrical release, I mean, I understand crediting Eli because he is the name and all of that. But I mean, you guys made a movie that theaters like wanted to pick up. And I just think that's fucking awesome. And congratulations. But Sean, was there anything else that you wanted to ask about?
No, we are going to wrap it up. Maybe one thing. Listen, at first I saw the trailer in theaters and I was like, you did the Chuck, you did like Instagram tags and then you did Letterboxd tags, right? That was your trailer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. At first I was like, what has happened to the world? But then I had an epiphany, and this had nothing to do with this interview. It was before the interview. I was talking to Lexi and I was like, film critics are dead. Like, in general, I was like, people go to Letterboxd now, and whether that's good or bad, whatever, you could argue that, but that's where people go. And then it hit me, and I was like, they are so far ahead by using Letterboxd reviews on their fucking movie. They don't even know it yet. That's going to be the future. I guarantee it is going to be Letterboxd and Instagram, and they're going to see it more and more. But you guys were the first people I saw to do it, and I was like, all right, I think they're onto something. This is so much better, because who gives a shit what some guy from the Chicago Tribune said? Like, if you pull somebody from Letterboxd, people are gonna be like, I'm going to Letterboxd anyway to check it out. So
Totally.
let me look at that. So I think you guys hit that one right on the head.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Honestly, we couldn't agree more, because it's like, like movies are made for people that watch movies, like critics for sure. I'm not saying they don't have a place in the world, but movies are made for critics. Movies are made for audiences, right? So to hear from audiences, like you were saying, we don't go to critic reviews to see if we're going to watch a movie. We see what people are saying about it on Letterboxd.
Exactly.
And the majority of the films we all love, critics fucking hate.
Yeah, which I think everyone's learned.
Look at
totally.
The Thing. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
Thing was critically panned as like cinema garbage when it first came out. That's one of the greatest movies ever made, right? So
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you had to like seek out that critic to find out what else he had to say besides that one line. And now it's like, no one's going to do that. So
Yeah,
they're just going to go on Letterboxd. But
100%.
Anyway, guys, that's it. We will let you go.
Oh, man.
This
Thank
is-
you so much.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry for the rough start, but I have it right here highlighted. Dream Eater releases on VOD on November 18th, 2025 on Amazon and Fandango at home. Nailed it. Watch Dream Eater.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys. This is an absolute blast, and it's such
Next
an
movie,
awesome way.
bring us on.
100%.
We're going to
100%.
talk to you guys. We're going to talk to
Yeah.
you guys.
Absolutely. It'd be an honor.
Fun.
It's an amazing way to end the week.
It is.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
cheers.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Cheers.
You too.